And we want to continue this conversation here on Canada Tonight. I'm going to invite Courtney Betty, a lawyer organizing a class action lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of Black workers in the federal public service. We should note it hasn't been yet certified. Courtney joins us from Toronto tonight. Hi, Courtney. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me here this evening.
So when we hear stories like El Hilali's, and we also heard Erica Ifill speaking as well, what comes to your mind when you're starting to hear these four stories brought to the light?
Well, Erica had reached out to me just about 10 minutes before we went to air. And I smile because it's incredible, the similarity between so many of the other stories. I'm heading up a class action against the government, still waiting to be certified. The class action actually began in almost exactly the same situation where an employee at the Canada Revenue Agency during this period of time sent a note to one of the commissioners, and the response from the commissioner was just totally disrespectful. And it was literally, that was the spark that had ignited this class action that now has over 500 public service workers, and they're all telling the same stories of disrespect, of abuse, of harassment within the public service.
And I understand that your case involves about 500 plaintiffs from different departments. This allegation we're hearing about today coming from the highest office in government. So just how widespread and how deep does this problem run?
Well, the problem is, right throughout the public service, through all the different departments. We've got, it's endemic. The Prime Minister has already admitted it. The Privy Council has admitted it. The House of Commons has admitted it. The Senate has admitted it. But no one has done anything about it. We've got reports going back 30, 40 years documenting systemic racism and discrimination and abuse. And we keep on getting these reports and these mandate letters. At the end of the day, they're meaningless, because the government has not taken the necessary action to remedy this problem.
We heard El Hilali left her job because of this incident or after this incident. And we hear Erica talking about feeling stuck, like you can't leave, you can't complain, you worry about what it's going to mean for your career growth, either within or outside the company. Is that something that you hear from employees about trying to navigate that and the impact on the longevity and their promotion and their career?
Absolutely. But I tell you what's even more painful is the former employees that are now retired, that are 70 years old, 74 years old, 78 years old, that are talking about how they survived 35 years of harassment, of pain and suffering. And they're still crying right now. They're still crying today because of what they had endured over this period of time. So, certainly the new workers that are there, it's a pattern that has been ongoing, and this is why the lawsuit goes back 50 years, because really and truly nothing has changed.
Well, just to that issue, to that point, what do you make of the promises and the gestures from the federal government? They say that they are making changes. Do you feel that is genuine and that the steps they're taking are enough?
I definitely don't feel that it's genuine. There's a claim that was filed. The government is now prepared to spend millions of dollars fighting against Black public service workers on an issue that they've already admitted, that there's institutional systemic racism. So on the one hand, the government can throw these statements out, but at the heart of it, there is no, in my view, there's no belief that the government genuinely wants to address the issue of Black public service workers, as indicated by their decision to hire a Bay Street law firm to fight us.
I have to suspect that as this is happening in federal public service in some of the highest offices in the country, we can only assume that, similar situations happen in different types of organizations and across the country. If someone is looking at this, maybe they're looking at themselves as an employer and thinking about the environment they're Black or their employees of color are working in. What can they do to ensure that they're creating an environment of inclusivity and that they're actually walking the walk and not just talking the talk?
Well, this morning I did a presentation to York Regional Police on behalf of 4 Black police officers that have been going through this. I think it's probably the first time as a lawyer that I was actually emotional in making a presentation. And what these employees have to recognize is that your situation is not unique. they get into a mentality of start blaming themselves, and it leads to depression. It leads to so many other negativity. You've got to find a co-worker that you can communicate with, and that's what's kind of needed, is this unity, that's this movement that's building right now. There are 5,000 individuals, Canadians, that have signed a petition asking the federal government to address the issue of systemic racism and discrimination. I would say to them, you're not alone.
All right, Courtney Betty in Toronto tonight. He's a lawyer organizing a class action lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of Black workers in the federal public service. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much.